September 23, 2025, a date that flashed across millions of screens, a date repeated in whispers, comments, and frantic late-night conversations, a date many believed would mark the end of the world. It started with a single claim, but within days, it became a storm. TikTok feeds flooded with warnings, predictions, and tearful confessions. People filmed themselves preparing for what they believed was their final night on Earth. Some sold their cars, others quit their jobs. A few recorded emotional farewell videos for the loved ones they expected to leave behind. The internet gave it a name, #RaptureTok, a digital wave of fear, hope, jokes, panic, and prophecy that grew faster than anyone expected. But beneath the humor and memes was something deeper, a strange tension, a trembling anticipation, a question no one could ignore. What if this time it's real? Millions watched the clock. Millions waited for the sky to split open. Millions held their breath as September 23rd approached. Why did this prediction spread so fast? What convinced ordinary people that this was the moment everything would change? And how did one man's prophecy turn into a global countdown? What happened next shocked thousands.
For too long, we have stood by while our values eroded, but no more.
But the story behind it reveals something even bigger about fear, belief, and the power of the internet to shape what people expect from heaven itself. And the strangest part, this wasn't the first time the world expected the end. And it definitely won't be the last. When the prediction first surfaced, it seemed like just another obscure claim floating somewhere in the depths of the internet. But then something unexpected happened. One video, then 10, then hundreds began appearing across TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. #RaptureTok wasn't simply trending, it was exploding. Millions of users scrolled through clip after clip, people warning their followers to get right with God, others explaining signs in the moon, stars, and global events, and countless creators stitching videos together to ask, is September 23rd really the day? The movement snowballed so quickly that it didn't feel like a trend anymore. It felt like a countdown. Videos showed teenagers crying, believing they had only days left. Parents made emotional posts asking for forgiveness from their children. Some shared dreams they claimed were divine messages confirming the date. Others made survival plans, packed emergency kits, and wrote notes for those left behind. But it wasn't all fear. Memes flooded the feed, people joking about flying into the sky, packing snacks for the rapture, or pretending to practice their ascension pose. Comedy mixed with anxiety, creating a strange digital atmosphere where no one knew whether to laugh or worry.
Talking about. The #RaptureTalk is dominating feeds, with millions sharing their predictions.
It really constitutes a mass emotional event. Yeah. The scale of Rapture Talk.
And every hour the hashtag grew, feeding on fear, curiosity, humor, and the electrifying feeling that something world-shaking might actually happen. For a moment, the internet believed it. The countdown had begun. Behind a tidal wave of videos, stitches, reactions, and memes stood one figure at the center of it all, a South African preacher named Joshua Malakaila.
The rapture is so upon us that if you are not ready for it, it is ready for you. Remember, I'm not dreaming. On the 23rd and the 24th of September, 2025, I will come to take my church.
The rapture is real. Jesus told me that on the 23rd of September, 2025, he will take the church.
He connected it to the Jewish New Year, ancient prophecies, and patterns he believed pointed to a divine timetable. What started as a niche prediction suddenly collided with a restless digital generation already overwhelmed by political chaos, economic uncertainty, rising global conflicts, and social pressure. To many, his message didn't sound impossible. It sounded like confirmation of what they already feared. Clips from his interview spread, reshared over and over. People isolated his statements, added dramatic music, visual effects, Bible verses, and emotional commentary. And in the chaos of the internet, his calm voice was transformed into a global alarm siren. But here's the important part. People didn't follow him because of who he was. They followed him because of what the moment felt like. A world on edge, a generation searching for answers, millions scrolling each day wondering, is this all heading somewhere? His prediction landed at the perfect time, just when uncertainty was highest and hope felt lowest. And so, a single claim spoken once became the spark that lit the fire. But the real question is this: why were so many people ready to believe him?
As we sit here on 1 December 2025, months after the panic faded, one question still remains about Rapture Talk.
How did so many people fall into this wave of fear and certainty? To understand that, we have to look deeper, not at the prophecy, but at the human heart.
Every time the world feels unstable, interest in end-time predictions surges. It's not new.
It's part of a psychological pattern that has repeated for centuries. When life feels unpredictable, economies shaking, wars rising, politics dividing, headlines filled with tension, people start searching for meaning. They want an answer. They want clarity. Most of all, they want control in a world that feels out of control. A data first that illusion. That's why predictions like #RaptureTok spread so quickly. It wasn't just the message, it was the moment. People were already stressed, anxious, tired, and overwhelmed. The idea that everything might end didn't feel far-fetched, it felt almost expected. And in the age of TikTok, fear spreads faster than truth. A dramatic claim gets millions of views before anyone has time to question it. Short videos sharpen emotion. Algorithms amplify panic. Every scroll becomes a tiny adrenaline rush. Psychologists call it collective emotional contagion. When one group's fear spreads like wildfire through thousands, then millions. For some, the prediction became a coping mechanism. For others, it became an escape. For many, it became a way to make sense of a world that no longer made sense. The truth is simple. People weren't just believing a prophecy. They were responding to the pressure of the times. And that pressure was still building as the day drew closer.
What happened next shocked the world. As the prophecy gained momentum, it didn't stay online. It leapt from screens into real lives, into families, homes, and hearts. People didn't just watch the videos, they believed them. Some individuals walked into their workplaces and submitted resignation letters,
Our resignations.
convinced
We
their
wish you all the
jobs no
best.
longer mattered.
Thank you.
Others sold their cars, emptied their savings, or donated everything they owned. A few even recorded farewell messages.
I just wanted to say goodbye.
Speaking to loved ones.
I love you all so much, and I don't know if I'll see you after September 23rd.
Online communities formed, groups where strangers comforted each other, prayed together, and counted the days like soldiers awaiting a final mission. Some kept journals, writing their last thoughts and hopes. Parents told their children to prepare for a great moment. Teenagers whispered fears about being left behind. The stories spread. A family that spent their final paycheck traveling to a mountain to wait for the sky to open. A man who sold his small business because there is no need for it in heaven.
I'm so sorry.
A woman who apologized to everyone she had ever hurt, desperate to leave clean. Not everyone reacted with fear, some reacted with excitement. For them, the prophecy wasn't doom, it was escape. A way out of bills, stress, heartbreak, and a world that felt too heavy. But as the date drew closer, something else rose too. A quiet tension, a silent countdown, an unspoken question hanging in every mind.
What if the prophecy was wrong? That question would be answered soon enough.
And then, the calendar flipped to September 23rd. People who had waited for weeks with pounding hearts finally reached the moment they believed would change everything. Phones were fully charged. Live streams were scheduled. Families gathered in living rooms, staring at the clock as if heaven itself was counting down with them. Across TikTok and YouTube, creators went live.
Is this really happening?
Stay with me, everyone. If the rapture begins, we'll see it together.
Some stood outside, staring at the sky.
Others knelt in prayer, whispering their final confessions. The world felt strangely still, as if holding its breath.
And then, nothing. No trumpet, no beam of light, no sudden disappearance of millions.
Just the ordinary rhythm of another sunrise, birds chirping, cars passing, notifications buzzing. A wave of silence swept through the online community. Comments froze. Lives ended abruptly. People waited another minute, then another hour. And then the sinking realization began to settle in. For many, the moment hit like a punch to the chest. Shock, confusion, embarrassment. Some cried. Some laughed nervously. Some simply logged off and never spoke about it again. Those who had given up everything faced an even harsher reality. Bills didn't disappear. Jobs weren't magically restored. Life kept going, while they were left standing still. But the story wasn't over, because within hours, a new message appeared online. A message claiming the prophecy wasn't wrong, just miscalculated. And that was the beginning of the next twist.
Just when people thought the prophecy had collapsed, a new video surfaced, and it changed everything again.
But this time the tone was different, calmer, more confident.
The original date, September 23,
wasn't
It
wrong.
was simply misunderstood.
According to him, the real rapture was now perfectly aligned with a new set of divine patterns, pointing straight to October 7 to 8.
The internet erupted once more. Some felt relieved.
That explains it.
It wasn't a failure, it was a test.
Others felt frustrated, betrayed, or emotionally exhausted. But for many who had already invested their hope, their money, and their hearts, they clung to the new date like a lifeline.
This tactic, however, wasn't new. Historians call it date shifting, a pattern seen in nearly every failed.
When a prophecy collapses, the prophet doesn't admit defeat. They simply discover a new calculation, a new revelation, a new celestial sign, something that magically adjusts the timeline and gives followers one more reason to stay.
It happened in 1844 with the Great Disappointment. It resurfaced in 1914 with new apocalyptic timelines. It repeated in
2011, and now again in 2025. The formula is always the same. Give believers just enough hope to keep them invested. And as October 7th approached, the pattern repeated perfectly. New hype, new fear, new expectations. But the real truth was waiting just around the corner.
After all the noise, the predictions, the panic, the hype, there's one question
What does Scripture actually say? Because long before TikTok trends, long before dates were drawn on calendars, Jesus himself gave a warning more powerful than any viral prophecy. In Matthew 24:36, Jesus says,
"No one knows the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the prophet, but only the God."
According to the Bible, end-time predictions don't just miss the mark, they contradict the very words of Christ. And this principle isn't unique to Christianity. Other faiths also teach that the unseen future belongs only to God. In Islam, the Quran states,
"With God alone is the knowledge of the hour."
Both scriptures agree on one undeniable truth. No human being, no preacher, no influencer, no so-called prophet knows the exact moment when the final hour will come.
Not because we lack intelligence, not because we haven't studied enough, but because that knowledge belongs solely to God.
While trends rise and collapse, while timelines shift and new dates appear, the truth remains the same. Real faith isn't built on fear. It isn't built on countdowns. It isn't built on predictions.
It's built on trust. Trust in the God who knows everything, while we only see in part.
And that truth outlasts every viral prophecy.
So now, after everything, the panic, the predictions, the shifting dates, the emotional roller coaster, what do we walk away with?
A reminder that faith was never meant to be built on fear. Fear makes people panic. Fear makes people obey blindly. Fear makes people sell everything they own because they think tomorrow won't come. But Jesus didn't call us to a life of fear. He called us to a life of truth. Because real faith isn't proven when someone announces a date. Real faith is proven when the date passes and you still choose to trust God. Maybe the world didn't end on September 23rd. Maybe it didn't end on October 7th. Maybe it won't end on any date someone posts online. But what will end one day is confusion, deception, and fear for those who anchor their hearts in God's word, not in viral noise. So if you take anything from this story, let it be this.
You don't need predictions to find peace. You only need the truth, and the one who holds the future in his hands.
Because the safest place to stand in uncertain times is on a faith that cannot be shaken.